What's up, RMFantasySX Nation? I am Chase.
I'm Christian.
We are the RMFantasy SXperts here for round 9 of the Monster Energy Supercross season, here to talk fantasy, the place you go to get all your stats on riders, on the tracks, to make your fantasy picks and maximize those points. And stick around because, as you always know, we give away amazing weekly prizes and grand prizes. And coming up later in the show, we have a very good guest speaker this week. Who do we got, Christian?
Justin Hill.
Mr. Shadowboxer. So let's kick it right off with our race recap from Arlington. All right, so with round 8 in the books, we have the results on the table. We have Eli Tomac, Ken Roxon, Anderson, Justin Barsha, another top 5, Zach Osborne, much better ride from that man, and then Dean Wilson holding down the wild card. How did your week go? I still beat you.
Well, yeah, you did by 6 points. Webb, I think, hurt a lot of people. I had these 4 in the right position, just one spot off, so the friendlies helped me.
I've been steady. I've been getting at least one pick right almost every round, but I need that big round to kind of propel me forward.
That's what people don't get. Like the people who win weekly prizes and have a huge week, that's not common. You're not doing that a lot. If you're getting one pick right, you're doing good.
Yeah.
If you're getting more than that right consistently,
you're going to be up at the top leaderboard.
You're going to be winning the grand prize at the end of the year. So,
but race highlights. We have to talk about it. The Dragons back claimed some serious victims this week.
Yeah.
We had Adam Sancerullo, who went down in practice, broken collarbone, so he's not going to be racing this weekend. Brock Tickle, I don't know if it's on the Dragons back or not, but he's got the JGR curse, broken hand.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then, of course, Cooper Webb. How gnarly was that crash, and how lucky is he to be back racing this weekend?
You couldn't ask for a better outcome of that situation.
Yeah, as bad as it was, I think you could not have fallen better.
Yeah, he couldn't be mad about what happened because it could have been way worse, no doubt.
Yeah.
So,
but it was crazy to watch. And Jimmy Dakotas even went down in 250s on that Dragon's back. So we're going to ask Justin Hill about that later on, kind of his thoughts on that Dragon's back. But other than that, any other highlights you want to point out?
I mean, you got to talk about Justin Hill. The guy was getting getting not so good starts in the first and third main, still charged up, took 6th overall. Brayton, we don't know what's going on with him. He had just a rough day all around.
What about Anderson crashing into the camera guy in the whoop section?
Oh, yeah.
Or the medical guy?
Oh, if he wouldn't have crashed in the last main, I had 3 picks lined up.
Really?
And it cost me big.
Yeah, that was a bummer. But he was riding good. Kind of wins that guy getting his win. But Tomac was just dominant. He was not going to be denied. If you look at the lap chart, especially at that last main, it was just Tomac right towards the end. He's like, nope, I got to get past you. And then when Tomac hole-shotted, led every lap, never looked back. So it was a good night of racing, though.
Scary.
I love the Triple Crown format.
I do too. As a fan, I don't think you can ask for anything much better. Yeah. I mean, I can get how the riders might not like it as much, but maybe it's just the loud ones that you hear that from. AP told us last week he does like them.
Yeah.
So
he didn't do that well this weekend, but he does like them.
He did miss the wild card by 1 spot. Took 8th.
But as far as user stats go, the average points were 48, so not too bad. We had 1 perfect score. I would love to talk to the man who said, I'm going to leave Cooper Webb out of a Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Because somehow he got that right.
It sounds crazy, but when you're getting 80-something thousand picks each week, it's bound to happen.
Webb was in 97% of people's top 5, so he was
and for
there.
good reason.
Yeah. 20% have Brayton in the wild card, which is a very high number. And then only 0.57% of players did not have Tomac in their top 5 picks. I'd like to hear what they were thinking.
He was the majority in first, too, which he should be.
Well, there you have it. Those are your race results. Those are your stats. But now, Atlanta, we're getting into it. Round 9. I can't believe how fast the season's going.
I know.
Pretty crazy. But let's jump right into it here, with track trends.
Okay, last year's Atlanta was an East-West showdown, which is pretty sweet. Atlanta's always like the favorite round of a lot of riders,
Was that the
too.
East-West showdown when Sancerullo won? He passed Faulkner. It was kind of like everyone's hyped up about the Faulkner-Sancerullo battle.
Oh, yeah, it might have
the
been.
one?
He just smoked him.
Yeah.
But Tomac started in 13th place, took 6th last year. The sand section is always gnarly there.
Yeah. They got have you seen it this year? We'll talk about it. It's
I like
cool.
it. I like it. But the results last year, top 5, Cooper Webb, Baggett, Muscan, Roxon, and Aaron Plessinger, his last top 5. So might have something going on there.
Interesting, though, that Coop's hurt. Well, he's banged up.
Yeah.
Marv isn't there. And Plessinger hasn't proven to be a top 5. So kind of hard to take anything away
Might be
from
one of
that.
those rounds that really shakes it up.
All right. But this year, though, you got the 3 180 starts, which is nice.
That's
You're using
cool.
the starting lane as part of the track, which
I
is
love when
always
they do
good.
that. I love that.
You got a longer sand section is kind of unique. It's real straight for a while, and then you hang a hard right.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Look like
it
a
forms
ski
up
jump.
multiple lines.
Ski
if
jump
there's
into
multiple lines in the sand, it's good. But if it's just one line, it's kind of boring.
Yeah. And then they got that split lane rhythm section. Is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
I like the track so far.
But spoiler alert, this weekend is an early race. It starts at 4 o'clock Eastern. If you're in California,
5 Eastern.
5 Eastern. If you're in California, that's 2 o'clock your time. So if you're not watching the races live or on NBC Sports, don't check Instagram all day until you're ready to sit down and watch because you're going to get spoiled.
And also get your picks in early as a fail-safe just in case.
Remember, use that calendar notification button on the fantasy website and we will email you or notify you to get your picks in so you don't miss out on that.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Well, those are the track trends. Now we got to get right into it. Tomac proved me wrong a little bit. Seems like he was always cursed with the red plate, but last week he proved he is here to keep it. So let's get right into it. Here we are, top contenders. All right, so top contenders, we have to start with the points leader, of course.
He's won 3 out of the last 4 rounds.
This man is on fire right now. What is he, 7 points up on Ken Roxon right now? But
something like that.
If you don't put this man in first, I think you're taking a huge risk because he hasn't finished out of the top 5 or worse than 4th since A1. He's qualified second every round, but now with AC not racing, Tomac's probably going to do it. But anyway, he took 6th in Atlanta last year after getting a horrible start. He's the only rider who has started as far back as 10th this year and still won a race. So he's the only guy still who can just make that crazy charge and pass through the pack.
I agree.
And what's crazy, though, with Tomac, this man has 7th most all-time main event wins, and everyone above him on that list has at least 2 Supercross titles.
That blows your mind.
So if he doesn't get it done this year, oh boy. Anyway, but he had the fastest single lap last weekend, and his starts were a little bit better. But we talked about it before. He always has 2 good starts and 1 bad one in the mains, and that's exactly what happened in the first one. But then gave me some hope because he got 2 good starts. So he is my man to win this weekend, no doubt.
You're banking on him not getting a good start if you don't pick him to win.
But even if he doesn't get a good start, in a full 20-minute main event, he can still win.
Who gets near him and is going to pass him?
No one.
Has anyone done that this year?
Hill almost did it last week in the first main, but other than that, no. Like once Tomac's had the lead, he hasn't lost a main event that he's led.
It doesn't matter who's in front of him; they're a threat to get past.
Okay, Ken Roxon.
K-Rock hasn't finished worse than 6th all year. That's better than any other rider. No one else has done that. So he's been consistent. He's only missed the podium twice this year. Took first at Glendale, and after taking second. So after he takes second, sometimes he gets the itch to, he can come back and win a little, get a little confidence back there. Finished 3rd in the only other East Coast round this year in Tampa. He's only passed Tomac twice this season. This is going back to what I'm saying. And one of the times, Tomac passed him right back. I mean, with Webb being banged up, he's the only threat to Tomac I see.
Okay.
But he does still have the second best average overall finish of 2.83 and standard round average finish of 3.5 this season.
So you still got to put this man on your podium.
Oh, no doubt.
But not to beat Tomac. All right. Let's jump right in with Mr. Webb here. So Cooper Webb is now like a full race down basically on Eli Tomac. That is a big points margin to make up, especially with how Tomac is riding. But he's a contender because he's up there in points, but I look at qualifying this weekend to know how Webb's going to be.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it here, he's going to race this weekend. He was looking great last week before he crashed, but in standard rounds this season, he hasn't finished more than 3 spots away from where he is qualified, including his 12th place finish in St. Louis where he qualified 15th.
Exactly. That's the only thing I can take from him.
So I would just say look at his qualifying. If he's way back there in qualifying, that's probably an indicator of where he's going to finish on the night. But Webb's a champ, and we've also seen the guy just turn it up and have a really good main event. All right. Justin Barcia, who it's time to take this guy for real.
I took him for real. I had him in my top 5 last week. Where did you have him?
I had him in 5th place, I believe.
Okay,
what do we have,
4th or 5th. He's the only 1 championship point away from Webb, so he's doing better than he has done in the last 4 years. The thing that really stood out to me is average overall finish going into round 9 last year was 8.5. This year, 4.5. So he's doing a lot better than he has been.
Okay.
Has a better average or overall average finish per main event gate drop of 5.1 than Anderson, AC, Webb, and Osborne. So you got to give him the respect like you're talking about.
Well, what's kind of weird is that the opposite of what you'd expect of Barch is his starts have not been good. And if he can get those figured out a little bit better, I start looking at him to be on the podium.
I mean, it's been proven. He has only finished on the podium when starting 3rd or better this year, and he's done it 2 times. So when he starts in the top 3, he's probably going to podium.
All righty.
Last 5 finishes, though, Triple Crown included, 4-5, 4-4-5. So we're seeing him in that range.
Start.
Yeah, with Webb banged up, maybe shift him up 1. I don't know.
All right, Jason Anderson. So he took the podium in Arlington after missing 3 straight weeks of the podium. He's still 15 points behind Justin Barcia. He's finished in 3rd or 5th overall in 6 of the 8 rounds this season.
3 times each.
3 times each.
It's weird.
So don't count him out. I still think he's a very solid top 5 guy. Didn't start or finish worse than 5th at Arlington. So his starts were good. His finishes were good.
Well, we were starting to count him out. He had a rough couple weeks.
Yeah.
Qualifying is what made me put him back in my picks last week. Is that what happened with you too?
Yeah, he qualified good. I was like, I never really doubted it, but he did win Atlanta in 2018 as well.
So he's got history there.
Yeah. So the big question, because Tomac, Roczen, Barcia, Anderson, I think those guys are solid picks. Now with AC out, that kind of opens the door, especially where you can even be more confident with these guys. But the real question mark this week is, 1, who's going to take that AC spot in the top 5? Will it be Osborne again or Justin Hill? And where do you put Cooper Webb?
Yeah.
That's the question I want to answer.
I mean, this guy looked like he had an itch to win last week, too. I mean, he was close to being up there. So
yeah, well, what do you guys think?
Third main.
What's Webb going to do this week? But we talked about our top contenders. Now let's jump right into it. Who's going to take the spots if Webb can't perform, and also with AC out? So here it is, weekly spoilers.
Okay, spoilers is getting a little short up this point in the season.
There's only so,
we got a lot of banged up riders.
We're getting to that point where riders are, the attrition.
They're settling into where
the attrition, and we're starting to see who's got what it takes. So what do we got? Who's our first guy?
Blake Baggett. He's been all over the place this year. Let's just get that out there. His last 5 finishes and Triple Crowns included 13, 8, 10, 22, 3. I mean, he's all over the map. Qualified in the top 5 when he took 3rd in San Diego, so that's something to watch for him.
Okay.
And his average start for the year is 6.6 or 6.36. Average finish 10.17. I mean, he started in 2nd in 2 of the 3 mains last week and still took 10th overall. Just kind of had a rough night.
All right. Zach Osborne. This man finally cracked the top 5 again. So a couple things to help with Zach. So his last 5 finishes, including Triple Crowns, 3, 4, 7, 11, 11. He DNF'd Atlanta last year, but he's there. His fastest lap time last week was the 2nd off, the fastest lap time of the night. So he's a little off pace, but I would definitely, between 8 or with AC being out and Webb being out or banged up, I think Osborne would be a
He's
good
shown
fit for
he
that.
can top 5 back-to-back weeks and get hot.
All right. Malcolm Stewart hasn't done it yet. Now with AC out,
maybe that frees him up. Yeah,
is that what he needs?
He's ran in the top 5, that's for sure.
Okay.
Just hasn't finished in there yet. He hasn't finished out of the top 10, so he's always up there. One of the most consistent finishers. Has finished between 7th and 8th 5 times this season already. And his average overall finish in 2020 is 7.92, but it's like we said, he gets starts, and riders being out and banged up, he could easily get in there. So.
Yep. And then Justin Hill. This is a rider that will be in my top 5 this week.
Already
this
have
man
him
is
in there.
crushing it. So
Already have him in there.
let's look at this. Last 4 overall finishes, 6, 5, 9, 8. His finishes in the Triple Crowns were 8, 3, 6, and he even went down in multiple
I think
of
he
those.
started 18th in 3rd main and came back to 8th.
And his starts have been good. He's been there he's had good starts. His results have been good. He's even been going down. But Justin Hill, for me, I think is kind of going to take one of those solid top 5 spots here on out.
I mean, he has turned it up, and I want to know why. So that's why we need to talk to him.
All right, well, there they have it. Those are the weekly spoilers. What do you guys think? Is there a rider we left out? And Aaron Plessinger?
I mean, Brayton's banged up.
Yeah.
So.
I think Plessinger could even be one of those guys that surprises
AP for sure.
But now we got to get right into it, because what's the wild card this week?
12th place.
Well, so let's get into it. This is Wildcard Watch. All right, so as far as the wildcard spot goes, we got a lot of riders on the table, so we're going to blast through these. This is probably the hardest pick so far.
12th is the hardest.
And it doesn't make any sense with some of these riders.
It's been like the hardest pick probably to pick all year.
First one up, Martin Davalos. He's taken 11th place once, 12th and 13th this season. And his average overall finish right now is 14.3.
I like it. Okay. You got Vince Freezy, who's just a good pick for the wild card every week. He's taken 11th place twice and 13th place once this season. Has finished 12th place in 3 separate Triple Crown main events. So
wow.
He's in there a lot.
Okay. Dean Wilson, he's taken 13th 4 times this season. And his average overall finish is 10.58.
He's all over the map, dude. I don't know what to say about that.
4 times, 13th. Come on now.
Yeah, something's going on.
And with AC out and Particle, there you go.
Yep.
Move it up one.
That's kind of why we put, our boy Reed in here. He hasn't been even to 12th this year, but with riders banged up and hurt, he could slide up to that spot.
Yeah, but last week was 13th, his best finish of the year.
And before that was 18th, so
yeah,
he
but
did
riders
good.
are dropping out, so I could see a 12th out of that man. Now, this is the one that to us does not make the most sense, but stats do not lie. What do you got for Baggett?
He's finished between 10th and 14th place 5 times in all main event gate drops this year. His average overall finish this year is 10.17. Took 13th in the last main event at Arlington.
He's just been going down,
It's more of, he's been hitting the dirt a lot. And if you hit the dirt, you're probably going to be around that 12th place range. So
yeah, and then Justin Brayton, he's better than 12th place, you would think, but he is banged up. So if you're feeling,
did he crash like 5 times last week?
It was a lot. But look at qualifying for Brayton if you really have concerns about him. But last rider that we have up here is Aaron Plessinger. So when we look at one of my favorite riders,
he's been a lot hotter than that, no doubt.
Yes, he has.
But he has taken 12th twice this season, 10th twice this season.
And his average overall finish is 10.75. So
it's just kind of a who's who in the 12th place range right now.
I know. Flip a coin. I don't know what to do.
You don't want to even offend anybody.
But who are you leaning towards right now?
I'm probably going to pick Freeze.
Freeze? I think that's a good pick. Him or probably Reed. Oh, I don't even know yet. We'll get there. But there they are. Those are the Wildcard Watch. What are you guys feeling this week? Who's got 12th place in them?
Hold on. All I can tell you.
What?
On average, the rider to take 12th this year has qualified exactly 10th.
Oh.
So think about that while you're making
there's
picks.
something to make it a little bit easier. Yeah. But now, I'm excited for this one. Justin Hill, shadow boxer. He wears a fanny pack. He's got a mustache. There is so much to like about this man.
He's just like the definition of cool these days.
So let's get him on the phone. Here it is, Between Two Berms with Justin Hill. All right, so we have him on the phone. The man with the fanny pack, one of our favorites who has been crushing it lately, Justin Hill. What's up, Justin?
Hey, man, not much. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing good. Thanks for calling in this week. We really appreciate it. Glad to have you on.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right. Well, Christian, you got a first question for
We
me.
have to handle the important stuff first. We've all been noticing your off-track style. The fanny pack game, killing it. I've been in the market for one for a while. We need to maybe get a collab going on that. Just keep all your stuff nice and safe in there. I love to see it. And then also with the pre-race rituals of punching the tough blocks and all that kind of stuff going on there. What was going on last week? It looked like somebody stopped you.
Well, actually, yeah, because the backstory is in Tampa, I broke one. So they kind of were like, hey, man, you can't be swinging them overhands and wrecking our stuff, bro. Like, you got to chill out. So they kind of told me I couldn't, but I kind of talked to a big dog over there and went, hey, man, can I still do this? And he's like, I don't care what you do, man. You're good. So I just kept on doing it, and I'm just trying to be careful and not break him anymore.
If you need someone with boxing mitts out there, I'm your guy.
Yeah, just
I'm well trained.
Get someone to wear that full bodysuit so you can just go all out and you got nothing to worry about. I think it'd be awesome.
I love that. I like dressing somebody up, beating up on them. That's good content right there.
Right on. Well, hey, Justin, first of all, congratulations on what I think for you is a huge turnaround season.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think even, we all love Mookie, but let's be honest, I think on the Motoconcepts team, I don't think a lot of people had you beating Mookie in, a lot of the races this year.
Brayton.
And you made a huge, and Brayton. And last week, your fastest qualifier, which is awesome. What would you kind of contribute to that as the biggest common denominator for your big turnaround this year?
I would just say I'm melding better with the bike, and everybody kind of made their assumptions of me based on how I was last year, which is completely understandable. And I knew deep down that wasn't me, and I could turn around my race image when I really got my feet under me and got on something I really liked. So that's really it. And obviously I've been fired up this year. After I hurt my shoulder in this last summer, and I had some time to reflect and I had some time to reset, and I thought about what I needed to do to get back to where I belong. And I'm not saying I knew I could beat Mookie. I mean, that dude's gnarly. We were definitely going back and forth a lot on the test track, so early off season, and I was like, dang, this guy's gonna be hard to beat. So the fact that I've got a couple races on him is a win for me. It's always cool to get a guy that you battle with on the daily. So I feel really good about that. But it's my program. It's this program that I'm on with the team, and the whole thing is all contributing to this. Just a better finish and ultimately a happier me, which is probably a more dangerous me in the sport. So.
Awesome.
I like it.
I'm kind of curious, though, between you and Mookie and even Brayton, is there some friendly banter going on in the rig when one guy beats another? What's the conversation like? Does one guy start to get tired of it? Like, do you look at your teammates like you're mad that they beat you? Or do you guys kind of ask each other, you kind of get strategies from each other, or does everyone kind of keep to themselves on that?
Well, I mean, no, like none of us are mad at each other at all. Like we all respect each other a lot. We expect each other's abilities. Between me and Malcolm and Vince and JB, we all kind of have our little kind of in the pocket skills,
Mm-hmm.
And on a day where I can bring out my technical riding ability and smoothness and this and that, then that's that could be my day. If it's a day where that tube just needs to get twisted off the grip, Malcolm and Vince are probably your guys, and if it's a day where the whoops are gnarly and Malcolm does great on the technical side too, but if it's a track that's kind of hairy and he just commits to stuff, he's dangerous on that day. So
right.
I would just say we respect each other's games a lot, and if I was to say, I don't try to pick. I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I try to pick up on every little thing that they do. Like, I'm riding a club right now, and I'm riding with JB, and JB just gave me put me through school yesterday, on a track he's used to, and made me look like a joker. But I was kind of loving it. Like I was kind of eating it up, going like, man, I ain't been to school with a test track like this in so long. Like I was kind of digging it. So I think it's a benefit for having this many good guys under the same relative umbrella.
Yeah,
it's been helpful to me for sure.
That's
I
cool.
can see that. That's cool.
All right, so now we were talking about tracks earlier, and Christian brought up, the Dragon's back this week, but my opinion is it was technical. They probably could have made it a little bit better, but so give us your opinion on the Dragon's back last weekend. Do you feel like they should have made it better? But then Christian was also wondering, as far as like track designs and technical riding, what were you saying,
It's
Christian?
just like, what do you think goes too far? Is there anything that they ever put out there that goes too far, or what would you like to see less of? What do you not like to see out there, and what would you like to see more on the track?
What's an ideal Justin Hill Supercross track?
Yeah.
I would, I don't think that they go too far. I think an ideal track for me is this last weekend with even more technicality to it, because I don't want everybody to misplace what I mean by that. Like this last weekend, the Dragon's back obviously took some guys down, but it wasn't, in my opinion, a super technical section. What was going on is that the bumps were actually kind of shallow, so we were grabbing traction where maybe we didn't expect to grab traction. So it was kind of just throwing guys off. It wasn't necessarily a rhythm that was too big or too difficult for our ability. I don't think it was that at all. I mean, if you look at it, if every single 250 can do it, then it's not too difficult for really, for anybody. Because if every single little bike can do it, we all know that it's, it's a class that you come in, you're not as good yet, and the bikes aren't as fast. And it's like, if they can all do it, then to me, that's like my rule of thumb. Like, there's no way you should be taking that out if they can, everyone can do it.
Okay.
And so the way I look at it is that I think that would have actually been safer if it was more in depth. If it had more altitude instead of it being shallow, because it would just slow. It would have been slower, and everybody would have had to think more. And people were rushing that section. They were rushing it, and then they were going down because they were trying to race it too hard.
Yeah, trying to get the drive for that triple to pass in the next corner.
Exactly, and you had to be really methodical going through that. And if you just kind of twisted it and got off the rear, it's like the bike could do kind of a sway, up and down, and you could grab traction and miss the top. And that's obviously that's what Adam did. Obviously that's what Cooper did. And it's funny because we're actually overqualified for that section, and we're crashing on it, which doesn't really make sense.
Right.
But it's because we're overqualified and not giving it the respect it deserves, and that's just because we're racing so hard and there's so many good guys doing it fast.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, Justin, you a lot of times I've heard you say how you're a real technical rider and it really suits your skill. And you even kind of mentioned talking about Mookie, how if the track requires you just to get a handful of throttle, it might not be your night, but what would you do differently? Because in my opinion, when I look at the tracks and the top 10 guys and how good they are, it's really hard to make a track that your top 10 guys all can't do the same line. So what would be, what would you change about the tracks to make them maybe slower or more technical to kind of help separate things?
Well, I think making the track, it sounds funny, but making the track a little bit more awkward and adding in things that don't set you up perfectly for the next section, because really it's not the rhythms being more crazy or gnarly, it's just making it to where they're hard to get to or they're hard to get speed for or things like that. Like we were kind of talking about before we started the show, it was like, the Supercross tracks of the 90s, they were just kind of like, they were kind of goofy, but they were technical because nobody could really reach the section with the speed they wanted and be on a position on the bike that they needed to be to execute it. So it was just kind of like, not everybody could put themselves there to do it. So I think it's more about throwing in obstacles that make your entries tricky, and in turn, in my opinion, it slows the racetrack down and makes it safer. If you go down, everybody goes down. Guys crash every weekend. Like we're never going to have a Supercross race where no one seriously ever crashes ever. It won't happen. But if you crash at a lower speed, I think that's an advantage. That's just my opinion. I think it'd be better if it was more technical. I mean, with setup and a little bit less, fourth gear. Yeah. Getting after it, just cranking it, because that, to me that suits my style. So yes, I'm biased, 100%. But I just think it's a safer way. I think it's a safer way to go down. It's kind of a safety net, in my opinion.
Okay. Is there one specific track this year that you've liked more than the rest because of it had an aspect like what you just talked about?
I don't think we've had one yet that's really what I'm looking for. Obviously, the races that I've been doing good at so far have been a little bit on the trickier side. Like Tampa actually had some kind of tricky setups that made it, they made it difficult. And, as much as we all hated that sand section, nobody was really going to get super hurt on the entry of it. Yeah. It was when we got going fast and started jumping back onto the clay that people were like stacking it up, right? So I think it has a lot to do with the way that you enter a section. So I don't think they've nailed it quite on the head yet, but these guys have a lot of people to answer to, and they do a great job with their parameters. So I respect the dudes a lot that put the tracks together, and they have a tough job and they can't please everybody. So the best we can do is just say what we think would be more more of an advantage for the sport, racing wise and safety wise.
Yeah,
right on.
It's well said.
I like that. All right, Christian. Last question. What do you got there for Big Hill?
Big Hill.
Yeah.
So growing up, with having a kind of a superstar big brother in the sport, how was that? And did you always plan on getting into Supercross, or when did that become a reality for you?
Well, I mean, it's funny you say that because it didn't become a reality into me until I was already doing it, which is strange. When I was 12, 13 years old, man, I was just pounding down milkshakes and watching Big Brother do his thing, and I really had no clue what I was going to do with my life. I was just loving watching him, and I was proud of him. And then it got to a point where, I started to grow up. Obviously, you grow up mentally, you grow up physically, and I just started going, I really want this for myself. And when I was probably 14, kind of going on 15, I really started to grind for this, and I had my own. I kind of went off on my own, like nobody was really paying attention. But I started training, I started riding hard and getting good, and then by the time it rolled around, and I was 17, I had won. I had my first contract going into my first Supercross year. I'd already won a lot of good amateur stuff that earned me the spot. I was like, oh, it's happening. And then I wasn't even really ready for it. Like, my first whole year was just kind of like I just I wasn't even really prepared to treat this as a world-class sport. I was just kind of going about it like I always did.
Mm-hmm.
And by 2014, when I started getting my first wins and really competing, I rethought the whole sport and rethought. I said, I'm a professional now, and I need to like treat my program, my body, myself, my program as such, and do it right. So I would say it didn't really hit me that this was going to be my life until I was already doing it, which is strange, but it's just how it worked. And so it's even weirder having Josh back now, like having him on the little bike, and I'm like, I don't have butterflies in my stomach racing anymore. I don't. I'm not nervous on the gate. I think I'm a pretty tough dude, and I've hit the ground hard in my life, and I'm not really scared of it anymore. But I get butterflies watching my brother race, and that's it. Like I watch him race, and it's like all the anxiety in the world just comes rushing back, like that I ever had for the sport. And then as soon as he's off the track and safe, and he's over here getting me fired up, I'm like, all right, let's do this. I'm back to being like even more solid of a warrior than I was, So it's kind of funny that how the roles reversed, and he's, we're both of our support systems now, and it's super neat. We get to train together now too, and it's just man, it's something I can't explain. I feel a lot of pride in it right now.
That's awesome. No, I was gonna say Josh has been crushing it. What did he finish overall last week? 4th? He was in the top 5.
He ended up 6th.
No,
I think he went down in one of them.
Okay.
And ended up 6th overall. So we actually, I went down 2 out of the 3 motos and still ended up 6th.
Yeah.
And then he ended up 6th too, and it was just kind of funny because everybody that follows me and him are like, all right, they're like kind of climbing together, and doing their thing, and they both ring the same finish. Like it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, no, I think Josh, the commitment and the dedication that he put into it, nothing but props and respect to that, because he's come a long ways from, a couple years ago when he was just kind of doing the free ride thing. I mean, he really had to commit to it, and props to him for doing that, and I'm sure you're proud of him, and I'm sure it's more anxiety just wanting him to do good versus scared that he's going to crash, because Josh he's like you. He's one of the most skilled riders out there, hands down.
Well, it's cool. Him and James used to be on the same team, and now their little brothers are on the same team too, so
I like
cool.
it.
Yeah. There's definitely some irony going around for sure, between me and Josh and the Stewarts, and you're 100% right. I'm watching him with these butterflies just going like, I want him to do so good, and I have so much. I mean, I'm used to, like you said, when I was a kid, Josh was a superstar, and I molded pretty much my whole game after him.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm like, so I know how good he is. So it's like when I watch him, I go, I mean, I to the core believe, yes, I'm biased again because he's my blood, but I believe to the core that he's just as good as any of these guys. He can go win these 250 races. So I'm just sitting there, just like I feel like my dad, like watching him. And I'm just like I'm kind of flipping out every 3 corners, like watching him. Oh, he made a mistake. Oh, he's that good. Like I'm like this emotional roller coaster watching him.
That's awesome.
But I bet you nothing gets you fired up more.
Do my thing, and then I don't have to think about it.
Awesome. Well, hey, Justin, man, really good insight. Appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, nobody has more fun out there than you, in my eyes.
Oh, I love it, dude.
We love to watch you out there. So.
It's been awesome. The family
Thank
pack.
you guys.
And, appreciate you calling in. Good luck to you and your brother this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be some good racing. And prove everyone wrong. Put it on the box. Get your first win this season, because that's what we want you to do.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I believe I can do it.
All right, man. We'll go get the job done. We'll see you on the races this weekend.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, we'll see you.
That's what I'm saying. We got so many good dudes in this sport, man.
Yeah, and
just an awesome guy.
And I'll be the first to admit, I was not hyped on Hill last year with everything going on, but I think this year I feel like he's kind of humbled himself a little bit more, and he's just putting in the work.
I mean, there's nothing you can say other than he's tearing it up right now.
He is.
So,
well, there you have it. That is Between Two Berms with Justin Hill, but now you know what time it is.
Time to lock him in.
Let's do it.
Heading into Atlanta, it's time to lock him in. I'm going with Eli Tomac to win, keep that red plate. I mean, I don't know how you could bet against that man at this point.
You don't.
Anderson, everyone's forgetting how close he was to winning that race overall last week, putting him in second. Roxon just staying consistent in third. Justin Hill, we just talked to the man. I'm a believer. Put him in fourth.
Okay.
Blake Baggett, like we said, he kind of had a bad week. I think he bounces back to fifth. I do like Barsha too.
Okay.
But I'm throwing Baggett in there for now.
All right.
Freezy is my wild card.
We're close, but I'm going to swap Roxon for Anderson. I'm going to keep Justin Hill in fourth, and I'm going to throw Barsha in fifth. And I would put Barsha ahead of Hill, but Hill's starts have been better.
Constantly. And
Barsha, every round, it's like he charges from the back of the pack, but by the time the race ends, he can only make it up to fourth or fifth. So that's what I'm doing. And then as my wild card, I'm doing it.
I mean, if
right
I'm picking
now,
Freezy, you're
Chad
picking Reed, it's got to be one of these two.
It's got to be a red bike. Well, there you have it. Those are our picks. Locked in. What do you guys think? Remember, neither one of us had Cooper Webb in our top 5, but we're going to watch qualifying and see where he ends up because you got to go back to that stat. He has not finished, 3 places
More
away
than 3 places
from where
away.
He's qualified.
In standard rounds,
So check out his qualifying. That's going to be a big indicator of where I'm going to put him.
No doubt.
If he's in the top 5 or even around there, it means he's feeling decent enough to race good. So
I agree.
well, there you have it. But now we got to talk about it like we do every week, why you want to be playing RMFantasySX. So here it is. It's our weekly prizes.
All right, before we get into weekly and grand prizes, special offers this week. Right now, the Rocky Mountain MX socks are on sale. You got to hit that up. Limited time sale. Use the banner on the fantasy site. Also, Fox Smoke Blower T-shirt. You can save $3 on that. Get them for $9.99, limit 2, with the offer code FOXSBT. Friday and Saturday. Don't forget the special RMATV offer code on supercrosslive.com/tickets. Save up 20% on tickets for upcoming races. And as an added bonus this week, we're giving away 10 tickets and tracks for trackside seating and FanFest entry for Daytona.
That's on my bucket list, and I can't even get one.
I know. So we're giving away those 10 tickets and passes to win them. To have your chance to win, email questions@rmfantasysx.com. Give us your address and who's been your favorite guest on the show we've ever had and who you'd like to see in the future. So
that's all you got to do. All right, weekly prizes for this round. Starting off with first place, 4 sets of Bridgestone Battlecross tires, plus Supercross 3, the video game, and up to 1, which is about $1,056
that's
MSRP.
huge, man.
All right. Then we got prizes from Agura, Pro Honda, Fastway, Fly Protection Package, Fast House Jersey and Pant Gloves. Nice. Works Connection, Factory 4 Stand, Titan Skid Plate, Fox Casual, Bell MX-9 MIPS, and a $150 Cherry Spending Spree.
Plus 90 Rocky Mountain gift cards.
That's just weekly.
That's just weekly.
Okay,
so
grand
now
prizes.
getting into grand prizes. We got a first place is going to get a KTM 450 SXF Factory Edition. Second place, KTM 250 SX. Third, Monster Energy Cup Trip Giveaway. Fourth, Dunlop MX tires for a year. Alpine Stars gear, casual and spending spree, Tusk Impact wheels, Honda generator, Fly Racing gear package, Milestone video game, Supercross 3 the game, 4K HDR TV and console, Motion Pro tool package, and Oakley goggles and sunglasses package.
You can now breathe.
That's a lot of prizes, man. It's looking good.
All right, well, there you have it. Those are the prizes. That's why you want to be playing RMFantasySX. Remember, RMFantasySX.com. And even though we're almost 9 rounds in, you can still win weekly prizes each and every week because they're reset. So go there, create your free account, make your top 5 picks, make that wild card, and get your chance to win. But just got to remember that the earlier the timestamp you make, the earlier you get your picks in and do not change them, that greatly increases your odds of getting a weekly prize. So if you're after weekly prizes, make those picks and don't change them.
People win weekly prizes every week that put their picks in days ahead of time.
Yep.
I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Well, there you have it. So remember, subscribe to the Rocky Mountain YouTube channel. That way you know when these episodes are going live each and every Friday. If you didn't have a chance to watch this whole episode, you can also listen to a podcast form on all the major platforms. I am Chase.
I'm Christian.
We'll see you next week.